Today, I'm going to do a little bit of a shorter version of my podcast than usual because of the restrictions on my schedule and some changes because my podcast should be out on Tuesdays as I committed to. But there's something very good that happened in my life that changed my schedule for this time. I became a grandfather for the first time. And so that creates some conflicts on my schedule. And for this week, Wednesday is the day, and I will be putting the podcast later today. The conversation today is about the seller agent, which normally is the listing agent. And I say normally because once in a blue moon, it happens that the seller agent also is not the listing agent, but it's less common nowadays with the new regulations that give the designated agency situation. So let's go and analyze what the seller agent obligations and fiduciary duties are. The seller agent, as the listing agent, represents the seller as it says normally the word seller agent. Seller agent, being the listing agent, normally starts his fiduciary duties really start with the signing of the listing agreement, which is a contract with the seller. But the work of the seller agent, it really starts a long time before the listing is active on the market. Most seller agents will sign what's called an exclusive listing agreement before, just to make sure that things move well and smooth. The seller agent is going to start with a consultation with the seller to check the property, to take notes, to recommend some things that may be needed to be done in the property before the property is staged, before the property is done with the pictures. For those things, sometimes there's a little bit of a spruce up of the property. So be on the exterior with landscaping or interior with some painting, and then the staging is very important. Before all of that happens, the seller agent is going to do a market analysis that is really analyzing all with all the comparables to do a price recommendation, which that price recommendation many times it's based on how the market is behaving also, because that way that listing agent is going to recommend to the seller how to price properly the property properly the property. So the situation is depending on the market. The property needs to be priced either really right there at the price that normally it would sell, or sometimes depending on the market, you're going to price the property really at a point where the market is dictating, but the expectation is that the lack of inventory is going to push the price, the sales price, higher than what you are pricing it. But in reality, we are not pricing it lower than what it should be. We're using the the comparables in the right way that are dictating what the listing price should be. And then the interest of people many times in this type of market that we have is driving the price higher. It's not the agent that is pricing it low. That's a risk. The agent is pricing it in the right price to be attractive for the public. And then the public is going to dictate really the sales price. So the it goes like this really, creating market analysis, recommending the price, having the staging done, professional pictures, broker open house, public open house, and the fiduciary duty of that seller agent continues, because that seller agent, it will have the duty of looking through the offers in detail to make sure that explains properly to the seller which ones are the offers that will be easier to get to the closing table. And that implicates to look at situations like the mortgage, what kind of pre-approval the person has, there's any cash transactions offer in there. All of those details are very important. um, the details over the home inspections, his people sometimes offering to buy as is or putting less requests in the home inspections, limiting the home inspections. So the obligation of the listing agent or seller agent is really to the way I like to do it when I am in the position of the listing agent is I create a spreadsheet with all the details of each offer for the seller to see easy in one snapshot. Um, Normally, it's not one page only, so it's not one snapshot, but sometimes it's multiple pages because there are many offers. But the spreadsheet is really the best way to separate the top offers. Still, the way I like to do it to be uh, giving a better opportunity to all of those people. I like to do it in two stages because I think, in my opinion, is a little presumptuous of some people to once the property is on the market 3 days later they're asking for highest and best. It's like, how can you be asking for highest and best if you don't have any offers on the table yet? It's a little presumptions, in my opinion. So I like to do it in a way that is okay. Offers are received. If the offers are starting to come, we're gonna take all of the offers for the first round and then present all of that. And based on those offers, together with the seller, we're going to put together a wish list of the seller, what the seller would like to see in those offers. Highest and best price to be offered, that's normally one. Um, First deposit, when and sometimes how much. But the first deposit, it's really earnest money. It's going to depend more on the price of that property, what should be an appropriate amount for the first deposit to get into attorney review. And then the second deposit, it must be deposit immediately after attorney review. And again, the amount depends on two things: the price of the property, the amount of the total down payment that is going to be put in the purchase of the property, and when. When the most important part in here of the when is when does the buyer want to do home inspections? Because that second deposit, it must be cleared in the escrow account of the attorney or the title company before anybody walks in the house to do home inspections. That's very important in terms of the fiduciary duties of that listing agent towards the seller. It's very important that the listing agent is in contact with the attorneys to make sure that that money is in the escrow account before the home inspections. And then you proceed to the home inspections. Of course, it's important that the listing agent or a representative that knows what is doing is present during the home inspections to make sure that everything is done appropriately and following up the rules and regulations of New Jersey Real Estate Commission. Keep in mind always, sometimes I refer to this as law. Why? Because the New Jersey Real Estate Commission rules and regulations are no more, no less than New Jersey statute law. So it is law. Um, but we are not attorneys, so the agents kind of refer to these all the time as the rules and regulations, but it's New Jersey statute law. So we always confer these things with the attorneys. It's not mandatory the use of an attorney in New Jersey, but we recommend the use of one, mainly when you're dealing with homes, a big home. Many times for a small condominium, that is everything is done perfectly. I've done a lot of transactions where it's only the title company involved. And if you go buy a house south of Woodbridge, most likely you're going to be in a situation where nobody is using an attorney. So that's good to know that in New Jersey, it's not mandatory the use of an attorney, but like from Woodbridge up north, because of a strong influence of New York, there's always, or 98% of the times, the use of an attorney is there. Um, so then, after the inspections, sometimes there is some negotiations in the part of some things that may need to be done because the buyers are requesting for some repairs to be done before the closing. And again, this is done. The intermediaries there are the attorneys. The attorneys need the help of the listing agent and the buyer agent. Why? Most important, because the attorneys were never in the house, and the paperwork done by the home inspectors, it's really the wording in there, it is somewhat complicated. And if you're not dealing with a home inspector that takes the time to explain things clearly to the buyer, things can get very ugly, and many times the deals die right there. With a good home inspector, with very well informed buyer, and things will go well. And sometimes there's a little bit of negotiation. Other times it's just smooth selling all the way through the closing. Before the closing, oh, by the way, it is very important that that listing agent also keeps in contact with the buyer agent and with the attorneys to make sure that everybody follows up in the situation of financing, because there are dates to be accomplished. And one of the very important dates is the commitment letter from the mortgage company, from the financing company. So it's very important that those dates are accomplished to make sure that there's no breach of contract. Those dates are accomplished. Normally, a commitment letter has some conditions. Still, seller agent needs to be following up with everybody to make sure that those conditions are met in time for the closing. And once the closing is scheduled, then this listing agent or a representative should be in the final walkthrough, because sometimes things happen. There was a wall that was damaged, or there was a floor that was scratched in the moving of the furniture, moving out of the house, and there's a problem that's going to show up at closing. It is always much better if the listing agent or a representative was there during the walkthrough and is going to communicate immediately with the seller, with the seller's attorney, making sure that everybody's aware that maybe a little bit of negotiation because something happened in there that's going to need either a repair or just a financial agreement in there. It's very important that those agents, to accomplish their fiduciary duties, are present when they are needed. One of the things that is happening these days a lot is that listing agents are nowhere to be seen in the final walkthrough, and really many times at the closing. Actually, I was recently in one closing that the buyer agent was not there to make sure that everything was okay to accompany the buyer. The buyer was very surprised that I was there with my seller to sign paperwork, with the seller's attorney to follow up on everything. And their attorney was not there. Actually, not even the attorney was there. This was the title company, the closing, and not even the buyer's attorney was there. So, you know, when you hire good people, they will be there to guide you, to help you, to give you information when you need that information. So that's very important. Now, one of the important pieces of information in here is when you, the buyer, walk into an open house, do you really want to work with the person that already has a fiduciary duty with the seller? That's a question. And the question in here is I would ask that agent if they would work as a designated agent and their broker is going to sit in the driver's seat creating the fiduciary duty with that seller, because the broker already has the fiduciary duty, because the agents in New Jersey, as well as in all of the other states in the United States, the agents have to work under the license of a broker. And that broker either is going to be himself helping that seller in the negotiation, or has a broker manager that's going to be doing that job. So this seller agent now is a designated agent representing the buyer. There's one little problem. That seller agent may have some information that is privileged to the seller that he cannot disclose. Okay. I always recommend, if you are a buyer, you most likely want to use a buyer agent to buy a property, because it is always a much better situation. But it happens sometimes that you encounter a very ethical um, seller agent that now is helped by this new rule that allows the seller agent to be a designated agent. I like that way better than the old situation of the dual agency that really created a very fine line for an agent to walk in when working with a buyer and the seller. I can tell you, I was a few times in that situation, and it is a very difficult situation when you are asked certain questions that you cannot really answer, because of the fiduciary duties are so divided. So the designated agency is a much better situation for both, for the buyer to be represented by the person that he met at an open house, and for the agent that can really represent that buyer in a much better way, legally. And not that the dual agency was not legal, it was legal, but was very uncomfortable. The dual agency situation was very uncomfortable for a good ethical agent. And I'm saying for a good ethical agent because, of course, we're humans, that there's a lot of people out there that the ethics are left aside. But I always recommend that, as a buyer, contacting an agent that, it becomes your buyer agent is a very good situation, is much better. And even that buyer, that buyer agent could come up with a situation where is showing you a listing of his own at some point in time, and it will be the situation of the designated agency in any again. So it can happen. It is very important that you are dealing with an ethical agent. I would say a realtor, most of them really make sure that the ethics are in check and do a good job. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next time, next week on Tuesday, because I'm going to be committed to have this next video on Tuesday next week.